Mike has been in the conflict resolution field since 1999. He conducts mediations, provides one-to-one conflict coaching, and develops and facilitates workshops. Mike is a chartered mediator with ADRIC, the Manitoba chapter. He has been married for 20 years and is the father of 2 teenagers. As you can imagine, being a parent has given Mike more than enough opportunity to hone his conflict resolution skills. Mike Lund, everybody.
Thank you. All right, I'm just going to grab the clicker here. Get the PowerPoint set up. Good to go? All right. Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about something called parenting by text. In the parent-teen dynamic, there's lots of opportunity for conflict. All right. Many situations that can occur. Now, the key is to know what approach you want to choose, or want to take, to resolve that conflict. Now, communication gurus out there, you know who you are, will say, well, you have a conversation, of course. Right? And in that conversation, you need to know that tone and body language will carry a lot of weight in terms of how that message is received by the teen. Right? Now, in my experience, and from what I've heard from a lot of parents, when you have a conversation with a teen, this is what you'll get. So I'm here today to suggest that taking the tone and body language out of a conversation actually makes for a better conversation. Sometimes face-to-face just isn't the best way, especially with teens. For example, you're having a conversation with your teen, you see them crossing their arms, rolling their eyes, sighing heavily, right? Your button might get pushed. Right? And suddenly you may be off on a rant, talking about what you're seeing instead of the actual issue that you wanted to talk about with them in the first place. Right? And your teen is no different. Your teen will see you coming at them, bringing your tone and body language with you. And because of the hormones that are happening for teens, there's a lot of things going on chemically, right? Natural chemicals. And so they may be a little more sensitive than average. Right? So they see you coming at them with tone and body language. They may feel that there's a threat, create some anxiety, maybe they get defensive. Right? So I'm suggesting that for those times where you feel that having a conversation with a teen will actually increase the conflict, I say try parenting by text. After all, teens are on their phone probably a lot more than they're actually talking with you. Right? So why not use the one tool that they're already tuned into? Now, for this to work well, you have to include in your text some foundational communication elements. We're going to talk about those in a minute. Because really, anybody can text, clean your room, right? But how likely is it that your teenager's going to actually do it? So let's take a look at those elements. Your text should include some idea of your intent. You want your teen looking, saying, oh, this is why this was sent to me. Right? And if you can link that intent to something that is a benefit for your teen, all the more powerful. Okay? Then you need to have some information about your expectation or advice that you want your teen to take, and then you have a closing. So we're going to take a closer look at the intent. This is based on that classic intent, action, effect model. Right? I've expanded it a little bit, and I've used information from a book called Crucial Conversations to add a couple little extra elements. So, in terms of intent, as parents, we have an intention for our house. We want our house to have a feeling of respect, fun, harmony, some sense of order, perhaps. Right? So we walk into every conversation with this intention. So say something happens, and you want to talk to your teen about it. So you approach them, and this is the action now, and you start talking to them, bringing that tone and body language. So your teen immediately will create a story about why you've come to talk to them. Right? My God, did Dad wake up just trying to make my life a living hell? Like, wow, what is going on here? Also, their story, most days, no, I don't do that, but some days, yeah. But their story will also include a label or a judgment about me. Oh, Dad's an idiot. Like, he just doesn't get it. Right? So that's percolating for your teen. And they're going to take that story, and it's going to create a feeling for them. Anger, frustration, anxiety, whatever. And then that's going to fuel an intention of what they want to do. And oftentimes they get defensive and they want to push back. So you may get a response from them that says, you know, Dad, you don't know what you're talking about. This is ridiculous. I don't even want to talk about it. Right? So you get that pushback. Then you're going to create a story. Right? Oh, they just don't respect me. They're brutal, you know, whatever. Right? And around it goes. So that's the cycle that happens in every single communication. Right? Now with teens and texting, what you want to do is create an effective text. You want them to have a favorable story about why you're sending this text. So then the reason for that is if they have a favorable story, they're going to feel better and they're more likely to follow your advice. So how do you help your teen create a favorable story? You have to link your text to something that they value, something that they find important. So then the big question is, what do teens find important? Right. So let's take a look at that. I'm about to show you, yeah, you all have your own ideas, but yeah. I'm going to show you some work that's been done by Vern Neufeld-Redekop in his book, From Violence to Blessing. He talks about these needs that as humans we all have. Right? I'm going to link how they apply to teens. So one of the needs the author talks about is a sense of action. I've detailed it a little bit more here in saying control and input. For teens, they want to have control over their environment. Right? They also want to have input into decisions that affect them. Right? So that's important. The next need is security. We like to know we have a roof over our head, food on our plate, we're feeling strong, healthy, that kind of thing. There's also a need for meaning, a sense of purpose in life. Right? The justice part of this one speaks to our need to feel that we're respected and that things are fair. Now, for teenagers, how many times have you heard them say, you know what, I emptied the dishwasher yesterday. This isn't fair. Huh? How come my sister doesn't have to do it? Right? Yeah. So you'll get that. So fairness is important to teens. Also, there's a need for recognition, and that's the need just to be acknowledged, you know, for accomplishments. So maybe it's a school activity or a sports achievement, something like that. And there's also a need for connection. And for teens, they typically get this need met through their interaction with their peers. Don't despair, though, parents. They still do need a connection with their parents on some level. All right. So these are the needs that exist for us all, and for teens included. So the idea is when you have a situation that is a conflict with your teen, you take a look at the situation, consider these needs, and decide, okay, what need would be important to my teen right now, given this situation? Right. So let's take a look at the elements again: intent, benefit to your teen, expectation, advice, and a closing. So I'm going to tell a little story happened about 3 years ago. It was a classic January in Winnipeg. So it was minus 300 without the wind chill. And I asked my daughter, I said, hey, honey, would you like a ride to school today? And she jumped at the chance. So she got in the car, we got to school. And when we got to school, I parked about 50 feet away from the school door, just so it was easier for me to merge into traffic. So when I did that, she looked at me as if I had just punched a puppy. You know, she said, really, Dad? I don't have boots. I'm not wearing mitts. And I'm thinking, it's 50 feet. Like, what is the big deal? So we had a bit of a heated exchange, and it ended with her harumphing loudly and slamming the car door, and then with me rolling down the window and saying, this is the last ride I give you. So, yeah, I know. So as I drove away, just full of adrenaline, fuming, I thought, what am I going to do with this? Because some of the conversations with my daughter before that really weren't all that successful. So I thought, hey, you know what? I'm going to try this texting thing, and I'm going to use these elements. So here's the text that I sent my daughter. Hi. For you to get more rides to school. Boom, right there, intention. When my daughter reads that, she knows exactly what this text is about. Right? It also speaks to a need that she has, a need for security. Right? If she gets a ride to school, it means she doesn't have to be outside when it's freezing, and she's going to get to school on time. Right? Two things that are important to her. So I've grabbed her attention. What did I say here? You need to show you're thankful for the ride, not be angry because you weren't dropped off at the door. Right? Now that's my advice, my guidance, whatever, but it also includes a need for me. My need for gratitude, harmony, which is a need that's linked to connection. Right? I'm going to feel more connected to my daughter if she demonstrates this. Then we can talk about it more if you like. Love you. Right? That's my closing. I'm also opening up the door to having a face-to-face conversation. Right? Now, another situation that occurs is a messy room. Maybe you've gotten some pushback from your son. Just stay out of my room. You have no business in there. You could send him a text that says, you know, for you to be in control of your room, and for me to walk in without crushing things, speaks to a need, his need for control, and also security. His stuff isn't going to get broken. Right? Also speaks to my need for security. I'm not going to hurt my feet stepping on stuff or slip around. You need to clear a pathway in your room. Right? Thanks. Okay? Now, this seems pretty simple, but underneath these simple, straightforward words is intention and needs that can be met. And this is why it resonates powerfully with teens. And they're much more likely to create a favorable story and follow your advice. So, in closing, texting is just one tool in your parenting toolbox. You'll still need face-to-face conversations. Right? But if you find yourself in a situation you're thinking, what do I do with this? Right? Consider a parenting by text style of text. I'm going to be kicking around this evening, tomorrow, so if you have questions, be happy to answer them, or you can look at my website, parentingbytext.ca. Right? So thank you.
Thank you very much, Mike. Of course, I forgot my notes down there. I do have a question. We are going to try and do a Q&A for as much as we possibly can. But Mike, where are you taking this research?
Where am I taking this research?
Yeah, what are your hopes and dreams for what you've discovered here?
Well, you know, there's a lot of personal experience with this. And certainly in my circle of friends, parents, there's been discussion around this and how they've had success with this approach. I am interested in doing more clinical research around it, because I've also polled all of my teenagers' friends, that kind of thing. So, but I am looking at doing a little bit more research. There'll be a book coming out. So, you know, I want to make it as complete as I can.
Thank you very much, Mike.
All right. Thank you, Don.
Thank you. Mike Lund, everybody.
Thanks.